So we're gonna talk about that rise and fall of WWE trailer that made its way online from the Conra 14 on YouTube. Quite, quite funny, but also quite
Well
sadly
edited.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, it does, it points out some of the big, what the hell's going on moments within the last year, and even as early as like this week on some things they talked about, right? It's, I do see that, you know, I mean, the WWE, there is a bit of a decline in a way, and I personally I can blame it to the fact that there's no real number two. Like there, it's like I remember the Attitude era where it was WCW versus WWE, some of the best that pushed WWE to a whole other level. Like that was probably some of the best times in wrestling. Like maybe not necessarily the in ring product, but just the overall show itself. Because I guess it was just that time where you have a bad segment or something, someone says, "What the hell is that?" They can change the channel and switch to something immediately, right? So it's, but there's definitely a lot of cool points. Like, what would you say is your favorite clip out of that video, or one of the ones that kind of really stood out to you?
All of it's just funny because it's all true in some way. But I think for me, caring so much about storylines and long-term storylines, I think the IC title one bothered me, in the sense that it was funny, but then also so real because it's like, how do you have title switches so often? Like there's no consistency. Guys just dropping straps night after night. You know, win it on a Sunday pay-per-view, lose it on a Monday, and that's always bothered me. I've always just wanted to see something over a 3-month reign. There was so much right in the trailer that I laughed about, that I found true, but I think that one for me, it was just like, I wish they could just lock that down and treat those mid-card titles as next. You know,
Yeah,
you're gonna have the guy with the Money in the Bank, and you're gonna have the Rumble winner, but these guys carrying these IC title, US title straps, they shouldn't just be things to hold. It's almost like they're just treating it as a TV title.
Yeah,
Like how WCW was, where the title didn't really have much significance other than you had to defend it every week on TV.
Yeah.
And that's what these IC title and US title straps feel like from a prestige standpoint, or lack thereof. But I mean, all of it was true. That the Adam Rose Bunny stuff, just, I look back at that storyline and it's just so silly.
Yeah.
Here's a guy that came on, I think it seemed as a face.
Yeah.
Then somehow started becoming a heel because he was
Yeah,
having
and
issues with
they
his
try to
body.
make him seem like a heel just by giving him darker eyeshadow or eyeliner.
And
I don't
getting
get
mad
it.
about that, and
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's incredible seeing how many of those comments that had to do with WCW rang true now for WWE.
Yeah.
Do I think they'll get to a point where that will happen? No, I think.
Yeah, there's too much money for them to fail at this point. Like they'll always be the number one. Like I don't know. Like this is coming from like anyone that's gonna start, you know what I mean, commenting like this like crazy. Like this is coming from someone that was a huge NWA TNA fan from like the very first event. And here you can even test me on it. Like going back to, what was it, the four-way match between Styles, Super Crazy, Lynn, and Loki. Like I'm like consistent fan of them, and you know what, the in-ring product was amazing, but just it completely went to hell there. And it's like, who would you say would be the number two nowadays? Like it's a real, the wrestling industry has changed a lot. Like, what would you say could be the number two?
I mean, I like ROH, but I mean, they're definitely not a number two. I mean, I think that's subjective now, what's going on in TNA. I think if Global Force, you know, Jared's Global Force Wrestling, they continue this partnership with, you know, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and they get that marketing behind it, and they steal some guys from the WWE, I mean, they could really make a splash if done right.
Yeah, like the raw concept of Global Force Wrestling sounds amazing, but so far I don't think there's anything for their own identity yet.
Right now,
I know they have maybe 2 events under their belt, or 3, but it's not. I don't know.
It's more of a piggyback right now off the New Japan Pro Wrestling, but this has to be one of those things where they come on strong off the bat. Like when WCW came in, they came in hot, and they had the venues, and they just built off of that Saturday, that morning or afternoon show. And then when Nitro came on board, then Raw changed their set. I mean, like, and it got big. So someone's gonna have to come on. If it's gonna be Global Force, they're gonna have to come on hard and go right at the E. They can't be starting off in these small venues, and you know they have to play. They're gonna have to play like a big player.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then it all comes down to the writing again, and being able to create superstars that people can look forward to and bring guys that will sort of shake it up, like when TNA got Kurt Angle. I mean, that was
a big moment for them. Massive moment for
deal,
them.
right? I mean, I don't know how contracts are set up right now in WWE and who would be around that time that could sort of bounce, but it would have to be that. Do I think WWE's in a position where they are that close to the fringe of falling? I don't think so. There's always going to be, as much as we might complain about the product, we're still, I don't pay to go to the shows, and I've only now started paying for the network, so I complain in the sense of storyline, but as far as supporting them, and they're still got my $10 for a bit, but I'm only paying it for 2 months, so who knows, I could stop in 2 months where
exactly. It's an open-ended contract.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think kids will still get their parents to bring it. You always have the kiddies that are going to look at these larger-than-life superstars and bring their parents, and that's 2 to 3
Sure, and even there's guys like us, I already know for a fact, boy or girl, I'm bringing my kid to a wrestling event just for because it's something I grew up on.
And there's always going to be that new generation that takes to it. I mean, it's weird, though, when I see pictures of tapings at SmackDown, and they show the side where the camera's on, that the camera's not facing.
What do you mean?
Like you'll see photos from live events, and they'll show the other side of the arena.
Oh, and it not being as full?
And it's not at all.
Wow. So they fill the frame to some degree.
You can see them online, and it's actually crazy how much empty, tarped up seats there are. Top areas gone, and I think, wow, is that a sign?
Yeah.
But I mean, I think if they're able to recover from this initial network loss, who knows? But I'm hoping there's going to be a federation that comes along that doesn't just try to be a number 2, that actually fights for number 1.
No, it's true. I agree with you. Because even TNA for a good while, there's so many different debates on TNA. It was, I think that personally, my opinion was the best thing for them was to not be exactly like WWE, but at least try to compete with them. For them to always say, oh, we're a wrestling alternative, and accept that WWE is number 1. What are you doing? Why are you who in life really is fighting to be number 2? That doesn't make any sense to me, right? Especially in a way the industry is now. It's you have one big organization, and then you have you have multiple smaller ones that somewhat share talent. You have guys from ROH appearing on New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA guys going to ROH guys going to TNA. You have this it's almost like back in the day was the territories, right?
I don't think anyone's gonna come along and be the big show. No one's gonna come along and compete with the WrestleMania. I mean, it's gonna take a long time. I mean, we have 31 WrestleManias under our belt now, so I don't know. It's hard to predict the future. Who knows? Something drastic would have to happen for wrestling WWE to just fall off the map like that. So I don't think that'll happen, since they are the number 1. Essentially the only one, really, when you're looking at that scale. But I'd love to see more of that trailer. I'd love to see an actual full version of that, an actual DVD.
I would that guy has to. If that guy starts up a Kickstarter campaign for that documentary, I would put money to that.
Of really making a longer version of all those comments.
That would be so cool.
And applying it till now, I think a lot more would reign true. And that's kind of scary when you think about it. 10 years ago, those comments from WCW that had to do with their demise back in 2001. Yeah. That can now be relevant in 2015. So. Yeah.
No, it's really cool. And one thing, going back to the WrestleMania thing, even with, we're going back to Global Force Wrestling, that I like their business model. And the whole big thing about Wrestle Kingdom 9 was there, a lot of the pre-promo stuff was all saying, this is our WrestleMania, this is our big moment. Yep. And I know we both watched it at separate times there, but it was a great card. But my biggest issue was, it's not a product I can follow week to week, even with regards to language barrier. That doesn't help as well. The in-ring product is amazing. But it's not something that is it's very tough to do what WWE has perfected.
But Global Force would be their own thing.
Yeah, potentially the whole concept of Global Force is going to be very much how back in the day was, how it's they're one organization that has access to multiple promotions. I think Jared is involved with about 13 different promotions throughout the world. From a logistics and cost standpoint, that just sounds ridiculously expensive. How do you fly guys out from different parts of the world on a regular basis, and how do you create some sort of continuity out of that, with regards to storylines? But I have a lot of hope for it. It seems like it could be a bust so far, but it could. I don't know. I still think there's potential with it.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like they're actually rushing it, because Global Force, the initial Banner came out like last year, and only now they did the Wrestle Kingdom 9, so it might be a slow burn, but if done right, I think they could, make a splash. But it's so hard to tell with sort of the staple that WWE is now, right? Some major players would have to leave and build that up, but let us know what you guys thought about the rise and fall of WWE trailer. Your comments, your thoughts. Do you think that it's something that potentially could happen sooner than later, or is it just something that's just fun to sort of watch and apply to current day? But yeah, like, subscribe, and find us on Twitter under at Kayfabe6. We'll see you later.